guys, welcome back to my channel. It's 100 degrees in Florida and I'm currently wearing a sweatshirt in my house because I'm trying to gaslight myself into believing that it's not actually summer and that it's fall. It's not going very well. Today we're hanging out in my cozy room, in my cozy chair. And I was gonna do a video today about freelance writing and, you know, certain things around that topic. But honestly, I'm at a stage in my writing journey right now where I'm kind of at a crossroads with freelancing. And I think that's something that I'll talk about in depth in my next video. So if that interests you, go ahead and watch out for that. I literally just decided to do this video 5 minutes ago. So this is gonna be very improv, no notes. Today we're gonna be talking about book to screen adaptations. So let's just get right into it. My tripod is not wanting to like keep everything up today. First, we are gonna be talking about a big stack of books that already have adaptations. First one being my personal favorite ever, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. I actually just bought this book. I have a little secret that my ring light died. So let me try to reposition. Back into it, Pride and Prejudice, specifically the 2005 version, is one of my favorite movies of all time. I rewatch this movie every single year, sometimes even multiple times a year. I am going to read this book, I think next month, for the first time ever, and I'm very, very excited. The next one's not a direct adaptation, but it is a book adaptation that is very anticipated this year, and that is The Odyssey. But specifically, I'm very excited to see what Cersei's role plays in the Odyssey movie, if she gets one. I don't even know who's playing her. I know that Charlize Theron is playing Calypso, I think, which also has a very similar story. So I'm just hoping and praying that we get a Cersei timeline in the Odyssey and that it's done well. Next is one of the most popular book to screen adaptations right now, and that is The Summer I Turned Pretty. I read these books for the first time last summer, and I really liked the books. They were a breeze to read through. They were enjoyable. And I started reading them because I wanted to watch the TV show. Honestly, I have some very controversial opinions about The Summer I Turned Pretty. One of them being that I personally in the show didn't want her to end up with anybody. At least not one of the brothers. Because I feel like the book to show adaptation is very, very different. And in the books, I'm happy that she ends up with Conrad only because they do when they're older and they have time to kind of like work through their own stuff. Even though I love Jeremiah, I know that's very controversial. If you are Team Conrad, I hope you can forgive me. Right, another adaptation that came out in this past January, which I don't know why it came out in January. This should have been a summer movie, and that is Emily Henry's People We Meet on Vacation. This is one of my favorite modern romance books, as you can see from the tags, and I love this book. I'm very inspired by this book for a project in the future of mine. And I was so excited for this adaptation, but I was super bummed that it wasn't a series, because this book is perfectly set up to be a series where each episode is a different vacation that they go on with the flashbacks leading you up to present day. I love the actors that played Poppy and Alex. The movie's really rewatchable, and I think it's one of the best, more modern rom-coms that we've seen on screen. And then we kind of come to an opposite thing where something is a series and I think it should have been a movie, and it just came out last week, and that is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I just picked this book up like not too long ago, and I blew through this book. Like, I really liked this book. I have One Golden Summer in the mail coming to my house as we speak. Very excited for One Golden Summer because I loved Charlie in this book. But I am currently on the last episode of Every Year After. What is this adaptation? Let me get my thoughts together for a second. Why is this a series? Why is Delilah there? She's only there in the past in the book, and for good reason. I don't really like this whole that they made Barry's Bay in a separate country and they kind of took away Canadian representation for Canadians. I also think the timelines are super confusing. I also personally don't like Sam and Percy's, I don't want to say actors because that's mean. I don't think that they have a lot of chemistry, frankly. I felt like Percy and Charlie had more chemistry at certain points in the series. And the only addition that's not in the books, Chantel and Jordy, is the only thing I kind of like. But even then, I still found myself asking while watching the show if this even makes sense. I had to push myself to get through it. And I've only been watching the show now because I keep it on while I'm working or for background noise. And even when I sit down to watch it, I'm like, this is so cringy, I can't do it. but I probably will watch the next season just because I love Charlie's character so much, even though I feel like in the series they kind of butchered Charlie's character and made him a much less likable character slash love interest. But these are all just my opinions. You could totally disagree with me, and if you enjoyed this show, I'm happy for you. Now moving on to adaptations that are coming out soon, which I know I already talked about the Odyssey. I don't know why I did that, but let's move on. I got 4 books in front of me. First one is Verity by Colleen Hoover. Fun fact, this is the one and only Colleen Hoover book I have ever read. I didn't hate it. I hated the ending of this book because I felt like she was dragging it out and trying to put the reader on this like up and down roller coaster, and it just wasn't believable for me as a reader, and I was personally over it. But like I said, I didn't personally hate this book. I actually found it quite enjoyable. Don't like Colleen Hoover as a person. I don't plan on reading any of her other books, and I have not seen any of her movie adaptations. However, I will be watching this adaptation because I read the book. I'm not a big fan of the casting because I imagined her as Blake Lively. So when it came out that Blake Lively was in It Ends With Us, I was like, oh, that's kind of funny because I've always imagined her as Verity. But the trailer looks really good. I'm interested to see what they do with it, and I'm interested to see how it comes out. Next one is one of my highest rated book from last year, my favorite book from last year, and that is The Wedding People by Alison Esbach. I have talked about this book at great lengths and how much I loved it, and I'm going to be rereading this next month on audiobook. But this is getting a movie adaptation. So excited. I think a movie will be done well as long as it is a full 2-hour length. If they're gonna shorten the movie though, I think they should do a small series, 6 episodes max. Very interested to see who they cast because who I imagined as these characters was so vivid in my head. I do fear I will be disappointed when it comes out. All right, the next one of the most anticipated book to screen adaptations for this year. One that I will be going premiere night to see in theaters, and that is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, a Hunger Games book. I devoured this book. I'm going to reread it before the movie comes out this November. I think this book is probably one of my favorites in the series. I'm so excited and also not emotionally ready for how devastating this movie is going to be. And if you have not read this yet before the movie comes out, I do highly suggest doing it. I fear that they're not going to be able to put in all of the details from the book into the movie, which I mean, really, whenever are they able to do that? All right, and a final one is actually an adaptation that's already partially out. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by George R.R. Martin. If you don't know, I am one of the biggest Game of Thrones fans you'll ever meet. I have 2 Game of Thrones tattoos. I have the entire book collection sitting on my bookshelf. I got married at a Game of Thrones filming location. Like, that's how big of a fan I am. And we're not going to talk about the series, the main original series right now. I'm not even going to talk about House of the Dragon right now because if I do, we're going to be here for days. I'm just going to talk about this lovely novella series here. I think the 6 episodes they released this year for season 1 was so perfectly well done. Like, yes, it was very short. And I feel like that was people's main complaint of the series, was that it was too short. But I felt like if it was any longer, they would have just been dragging out things that didn't need to be dragged out, and that could have heightened the risk of the writers steering away from the novella. So I'm glad it was executed the way it was, and I'm very, very excited for season 2. If you don't know, this book is 3 small novellas about Dunk and Egg. If you watched the first season of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, you will know who those characters are. And seasons 2 and 3 are gonna be Dunk and Egg kind of continuing their explorations throughout Westeros. They did so well with the first season. I just really, really trust Ira Parker and what he's gonna do with the next 2 seasons. So yeah, those are all my adaptations that I wanted to talk about. Thank you for hanging out with me in the cozy room through my technical difficulties and my itchy nose. It's just been a day here. If you like content like this, if you like writer content, cozy vlogs, I suggest giving me a little subscribe and following along for more. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.